With all humility, may I request your good self to be here on the dais and address the eager and enthusiastic audience. Justice L. Santosh Hegde.
As was told to you all, I held many posts, maybe the Government of India or the state government or the judiciary. But till I came to the institution of Karnataka Lokayukta, I feel that I was a frog in the well. I didn't really know what was happening in the ground level. I thought I was comfortable, the whole world is comfortable. Karnataka Lokayukta, which is one of the first institutions of ombudsman created in India, is a very powerful organization. It has two jurisdictions. One is fighting corruption, which under law has to be done, or the investigation can be done only by the police officers, because Section 17 of the Prevention of Corruption Act says any investigation under that act can be conducted by a police officer not below the rank of a Deputy Superintendent of Police. But Karnataka Lokayukta has a separate police force, the administrative head of which is the Lokayukta, and the executive head is the police officer of the rank of additional director of the police, ADGP. During my tenure from 2006 to 2011 as Lokayukta, in 5 years the Karnataka Lokayukta police did a wonderful, wonderful job of either raiding or trapping and arresting more than 750 top officials, which included minister, IAS officers, officers in the state ranking. While the Karnataka Lokayukta in its grievance redressal jurisdiction cleared 23,000 cases which it received during that tenure of 5 years. It is in the process of discharging the duties of Lokayukta, I have come to the conclusion that whatever may be the problem that the country is facing today, it's because of lack of two human values of humans. One is contentment in life, other is humanism. Because of the lack of these two values, I found so much of injustice being meted out to the people, especially at the poor rung of the society. People being cheated of their legitimate benefits by an institution created under the Constitution of India called the government. The institution was created to help the people out, solve the problems, but during my tenure, I found it to be right the opposite. The maladministration, the corruption in it. This experience totally changed me. And when I was retiring, fortunately for me, Mr. Anna Hazare started a movement against corruption and for creation of a strong Lokpal at the center. The organization called India Against Corruption, and I joined that institution. I was found sitting in a Maidan protesting against certain actions or inactions of the government. Which photograph or maybe the TV picture was seen by some of the former colleagues of mine in the Supreme Court bench, out of which some telephoned to me to say, Santosh, what are you doing? A former judge of the Supreme Court sitting in a Maidan in protest. Never done, never done. you're spoiling our name. Well, I answered whatever I wanted to tell them. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, my dear students, I found the 5 years of my experience in the Lokayukta the best and the most I enjoyed part of my career. Let me take back the memories of the people who were present at that point of time, or were born, or to others also. When India was anticipating its independence, our elders created a body called the Constituent Assembly for drafting a constitution for this country, which really should be the holy book of the nation. In that meeting, the first thing that came up for consideration was what type of a political system this country should adopt after becoming independent. Internationally, there were many political systems. There were Rajas and Maharajas. There were the monarchy as well as dictatorship. There was ism-based politics called the communism, socialism, capitalism. Amongst them was another political system called the democracy, Prajaprabhuta. Meaning of the word Prajaprabhuta then was government of the people, by the people, for the people. While accepting this, our elders spoke with emotion and they said, we Indians were never ever independent. We were under the rules of Rajas, Maharajas and others, including foreigners. They made the law which they liked and we perforce had to obey that law, otherwise we were punished. They pleaded, let us adopt a political system by which every Indian feels this country is mine, it is for me, it is by me. It's in that background, very proudly our elders chose democracy as a political system of this country. Since I'm going to compare certain institutions which are in existence today with the institutions of the past, let me give you one instance where a very big issue was discussed and see the manner in which it was discussed. A question arose before the Constituent Assembly whether a person who wanted to contest an election and be a representative of the people must have an educational qualification or not. Many people, elders, stood up and said, I want a person to represent me who knows the problem of my constituency and also finds a solution for it and take it to the Assembly of the Parliament and convince the other members to solve the problem. For that, they said, it requires some education. The editor of the Constituent Assembly debate writes, practically everybody in the Assembly was willing to impose an educational qualification for a person to contest an election. After some time, one member stood up and he addressed the chair. President, sir, recently we adopted a political system called democracy. You told us the meaning of that system was government of the people, by the people, for the people. Today, sir, that was in 1946, the population of this country is 40 crores and thereabout. He said 80% of the 40 crore people are total illiterates. So, do you want to reserve this democracy for 20% of the educated people? He asked a question. The editor of the Constituent Assembly writes, there was absolute silence. Nobody could answer that 1%, whereas many people, elders, have spoken for imposing educational qualification. After some time, none other than Baba Sahib Ambedkar stands up and he says, I made a mistake too. I did not look at this issue from the point of view with which the honorable member is looking from. We cannot reserve democracy to any section of the people. It's the right of every citizen of India. It is in this background they dropped the educational qualification. What a way the assembly functioned. 1946 to 1949, November 24th, Not once a member walked out. Not once a member came to the rear of the house. There was no protest inside the house, there was dialogue. Majority did not matter when it came to taking a decision. They were willing to consider the opposite point of view also. My dear students, what's happening in the successor institution called the Parliament today? How many matters are being discussed without interruption? How many times people speak with some object in mind? How many times it becomes an issue between a political party and not the citizens of this country? In 2004 to 2009, the Lok Sabha tenure of that period was audited by a magazine called Election Watch to find out what is the contribution of a member there. The 5 years, the Election Watch found out of 542 members of the Lok Sabha, he who spoke at least once in 5 years was only 174. Why do we spend so much of money on the rest of the people who do not participate in the proceedings? Why is there lack of this? You ask me the question, I'll say this lack of moral values. Lack of understanding as to one's responsibility. In 50s and 60s and 70s, there was no salary for an elected person. He was given the actual expenses. Today, they draw 12 months' salary for sitting for 100 days in a year. And this is the only job which has got 2 salaries, monthly salary plus for going and sitting there, you get a sitting fee separately, substantial sum. Okay, forget it, let them get the money. But what is the contribution? The last winter sitting in the Parliament, which went on for 2 weeks, out of which 10 days is the working day. Not one item in the agenda was taken up for discussion. Times of India quoted, an expense of 1 day's proceeding in the Lok Sabha is about 10 crores per day. Can this country afford to lose that? Such money for no productive reasons? Now let me tell you another thing about the functioning of the assembly, which is created under the Constitution of India, one of the pillars. In 2012, the UPA government placed before the House a bill called Goods Service Tax, GST. Every financial expert said if that bill is passed and implemented, it will improve the GDP by 2 to 3%. Then the NDA government did not allow that bill to be discussed. In 2015, NDA government is in power. It introduces the same GST with the same objectives, pleading the same benefits. UPA government did not allow it. Is this the democracy our forefathers contemplated? And look at that thinking. When I was in Anna's team, some lawyers, we joined together and drafted a Jan Lokpal bill for the government of India. Annaji wrote a letter to the Prime Minister requesting an opportunity to be given to us to discuss this bill with the government. One member of Parliament, who later on became a minister in the UPA government, questioned Anna in the media, "Who are you? Unelected, unelectable tyrants, who are you to discuss with the government? You have no business." Only we can do that. Can you imagine a person who's elected by us going to the Parliament and questioning the very same voters, "Who are you?" merely because you are not an elected person. Maybe it was an aberration at that point of time, but it is not so today, I can tell you. Recently, when the Supreme Court delivered a judgment against the NJC, National Judicial Commission, the Finance Minister of India called that judgment an aberration of the unelected. What is this concept of elected and unelected? Are the elected people superior to us? No, thinking has changed. Because only ground is fall of moral values. We don't question them, maybe we cannot question them. In that letter, Annaji had written to then the Prime Minister saying that, Honorable Prime Minister, do not forget the fact that you are a public servant. One member of parliament in Lok Sabha, who later became a minister, now has been convicted but is on bail, in the Lok Sabha, looked around the Lok Sabha 360 degrees and read that letter and said, look at the atrocity of this old man. He is calling the Prime Minister of India a public servant. My dear students, try and understand. He who draws any emoluments from the center of the state treasury is a public servant, be it the President of India or a Jamidar. But you forget it. And you openly say that. And that the Honorable Member said, he calls the Prime Minister a public servant. What will he call us? You take the definition of a public servant in the Prevention of Corruption Act, Indian Penal Code. The definition is he who draws any emoluments from the state or central treasury. This is the mindset of one of the institutions or the pillars constituted in our Constitution. There's another pillar, the executive. When executive was being contemplated in the constitutional debates, many members pleaded and said, this is the institution which is going to govern this country. Please see that the right persons are chosen to this post. Let it not be done by any political institution. Let politics have nothing to do with the executive. They created the Union Public Service Commission and the State Public Service Commissions. What has happened? Supposed to be the best. In every scam that has come into public domain, there is the hand of one or more executive involved in it. We have come to the judiciary, the third pillar of the Constitution. I was in that institution for more than 45 years. What I'm saying now was there even when I was there, but as a judge, our eyes are closed, the ears are closed, so we don't really realize what is the shortcomings in the institution. Now I'm outside of that and I'm talking about that. One case to be decided in the first court takes nothing less than 10 years. And there's the first appellate court, the second appellate court, the Supreme Court. When will the justice be done to the party which deserves that justice? And I think the new system has started. This is one of the recent days. There was the case of Jayalalitha, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. After 14 years, the first court convicted her. High Court admits it, refuses bail. They go to the Supreme Court. Bail is granted, fair enough, grant bail. And the direction is given, take up this case and finish it off within 3 months. Is that justice? When hundreds of cases of people who are in the jail are lying before the court, what is the urgency? You are granted bail, what's the urgency? That you should decide it in 2 months or 3 months? When other cases take 10 years and people suffer in the jail. And there is the case of Salman Khan. 3 o'clock the judgment is delivered, the 4 o'clock the High Court grants bail, fair enough, grant bail. Why hear that case out of turn in 3 months? I'm not talking about the acquittal in both the cases, that's a different matter altogether. I'm questioning the procedure. Are you not creating 2 classes of clientele? One, the rich and the powerful, the other, the have-nots. That's not the judiciary our forefathers when they drafted the Constitution contemplated. It's a common saying today in the circle which I was once belonged to. If a husband and wife fight in the age of between 25 and 30 and file a case for restitution of conjugal rights, by the time the final decree comes, husband will be 80 years old and wife will be 75 years old. This is the reality. Somebody has to look into it. The people maybe who are in it, to the system, or others, there should be public debate to cleanse this system. But this ban is not confined only to the 3 pillars of the Constitution. The media. The people, out of their own love and affection, brought the media into the level of the three pillars and called the fourth estate of this country. What's happened to that? Few years back, many of you would have heard the name called Neera Radia, paid news concept. Which is that institution in this country which is free from this side of malice. Very often when I interact with the students, I've been to more than 780 educational institutions apart from programs like this, interact with the students. Many times they ask me, sir, is there an institution which is free from corruption? I quote them what Gautam Buddha said to a mother who has lost a child. Bring some mustard from a house where there has been no death. She couldn't find a house. That is the position today in this country. Be it the executive, be it the legislature, be it the judiciary, media, or for that matter, every other private institutions suffer from this lack of moral values. Let's say the consequences. I just pointed out to you the consequences of the three pillars falling down. But let us think about ourselves if we lose the moral value, what happens? In 2008, the examples I'm going to give it to you are all from the medical profession, because if I tell you one minister was caught with 1 crore or 2 crores, chalta hai yaar, sab kuch waisa hai. That will be the attitude. But let me give these examples. In 2008, a handicapped tailor and his wife brought a 6-month-old child to the Lokaita institution. I said, what's the complaint? Sir, this child looks perfectly all right, but it is born without a rectum, an anal opening. It is to eat through the mouth and defecate through the mouth. Nothing strange for the medical profession. He was advised by the local doctor to take it to a superior hospital where a pediatric surgeon would rectify it. They took the child to a government medical college hospital. The pediatric surgeon examines the child there and he says, yes, it can be done. But it will cost you so much money. Money is not expense, money is bribe. Husband and wife gave all the money they had and put it on the table. He counted the money and said, for this money, I'll make a hole near the rib cage so that the fecal matters can keep going up from there. What a person. He wanted to be educated. God gave him the opportunity of that. He wanted to be a doctor. God gave him an opportunity there also. He wanted to be a pediatric surgeon. God gave him that opportunity also. He then goes and joins a government hospital. In Karnataka, people say government hospital is the last hospital for a poor person because anybody who can beg, borrow, steal will not go to the government hospital. The normal thing is a patient who walks vertically comes out horizontally. We, of course, we did the necessary things. We got it done from another hospital without spending 1 naya paisa. But look at the greed of this person. Can you call him a satisfied person, a content person in life? Can you call him a human being? When it was his duty to give future to a child which was in front of him, and he could have, if he were to do that, for the rest of his life he could have said, oh my God, I gave a future to a child. No. The greed didn't allow him to do that. This is what exactly happens with people who are not content in life, not content with what they legitimately earn. Any amount of money you might make, you're not satisfied. Let me give some examples of growth of zeros in the amount that was swindled from this country. In 50s, there was a scam called the Jeep scam. The country lost 52 lakhs of rupees. There was annually 1 or 2 scams coming to the public domain. Not all will not come. Out of 10, maybe 1 or 2 will come out. There was a Dalmia scam of Bharat Bank, Mundra scam of LIC, Nagarwala scam of Central Bank. In 86, 84, there was another big scam called the Bofers. The country lost 64 crores of rupees. From 52 lakhs, 64 crores. 2010, 2 scams came out. The Commonwealth Games. Amount lost was 70,000 crores of rupees. This is not my figure. This is the figure given by the CAG to the Government of India. Same year, 2010, 2G scam. The amount lost to the country is 1,76,000 crores. Please count the zeros from the lakhs to thousands of lakhs to hundreds of crores to lakh crores. 2012 Colgate, 1,86,000 crores was lost. What is the effect of it? The budget of state of Karnataka for 2014-2015 is 1,32,000 crores for 6.5 crores of people for 365 days. But the greed of these few officers and politicians has swindled so much money. Will it or will it not have effect on our growth? I would say yes, it will have a massive effect on the growth of this country. If they send even 1 rupee, how much would it go? In 86, Rajiv Gandhi made a statement, out of every rupee government of India gives for the benefit of the poor, only 15 paise reaches the poor, the beneficiaries. What sort of economy is this? Why is it like this? But for the fact that it's greed, nothing but greed. In 2008 itself, I saw a photo picture in the vernacular newspaper daily in the Karnataka, which depicted the picture of a lady sitting in a deserted place, scraping the topsoil with her bare fingers with a pot next to her. The article below that said, she has walked 5 kilometers in search of 1 pot of water. She gets that 1 pot of water, she is happy. 5 members of her family will have something to drink, something to cook. Forget bathing, washing. Those are luxuries, we can't afford it. 2008, Karnataka was considered to be one of the most developed states. The very same year, the CIG reported to the Government of India, out of the lakhs and lakhs of crores of rupees Government of India gave to various state governments for providing drinking water only, 51,000 crores is unaccounted for. What would you do? Where does greed lead us to? From 52 lakhs, 64 crores, 1,86,000. God knows how many scams which have gone undetected. I was reading in today's paper about not being detected in regard to the Gujarat incident where 3 people were supposed to have been shot down by the police on the ground they were terrorists. Certain papers that will take the contra view are now missing from the files. This is the situation in which we are. This is the greed that we entertain. And these are the consequences of that greed. Okay, let me take the other value part of it. I'll take another 5 minutes. Humanism. We think we are all born human beings, that we refer to ourselves as human beings. Wrong. We are not born to a species called humans. There is no species called humans. We are born to a species called Homo sapiens, which is nothing to do with the human part. You want to become a human? Then in your journey of life, if you acquire humanism and die as a human being, that is the greatest glory anybody can claim. My dear students, that should be your goal. To become a content person, to become a human being. I'll give another example of lack of contentment and humanism. In 2011, an air marshal from Hyderabad telephoned to me and said, Mr. Hegde, I didn't know him earlier. 3 days back, my older brother's 18-year-old daughter is killed in a road accident in Bangalore. Her body is lying in a government hospital. We have kept an ambulance to ferry the body from Bangalore to Hyderabad. They are not doing post-mortem. Police are refusing to release the body without post-mortem. I told him, Marshal, I'll get back to you in 2 or 3 hours. And I went to that hospital. And the superintendent told me, sir, it's impossible. I have deputed 2 doctors to go there and do the post-mortem. We'll summon the doctors and find out. They summoned the doctor, out of which one man came to know the proprietor sitting in the superintendent's office. They put relief and went away. See the humanism of the other person. As he walks in, what's the hurry? The body is not decaying. Body is in a freezer. Am I to examine a living patient or to perform the post-mortem on a dead body? What is the idea of for this picture? if it was true. The superintendent asked, why did you go to the main building to treat a patient? You were deputy to the mortuary only. He said there was a patient lying and not being attended to. His relative came and told me that there is nobody attending to his relative, so will you please come and visit. I said, did you know this patient or his relative earlier? He said, no. First time. The mortuary is about 100 meters away from the main building, and the main building has about 50 qualified doctors. They couldn't find any one of them. They come to mortuary to collect this case. If it was his own daughter, would he have done that? When the Air Marshal told me, please understand our sorrow. We have not seen the face of a young lady we have lost. We have not done our last rites. There are members of the family who have not even had a sip of water for 3 days. Do this people think in terms of sorrows of others? No. This is what greed and lack of humanism does. I have, as I mentioned, been to more than 780 educational institutions in the Atlantic. But I must mention that I've been to 6 or 7 times. And at this, I speak the same thing because I don't know anything else to speak, But let me tell you, there is no better happiness than being happy. There is no better pride than being a human being helping others in trouble. I thank AIMA for giving me this opportunity of speaking to the students and the dignitaries present here, and I will answer every question of yours. Ask me questions without hesitation. These days I don't get angry. Therefore, go ahead and ask questions. Thank you very much.
Sonakshi, of course not Sinha.
Sonakshi Naran from TCT Group of Institute, and my question for you is that Mr. Arvind Kejriwal feels that you need to be into the system and then clean it, whereas Mr. Anna Hazare and you beg to differ. So what I want to know is, which would be the better way to go on?
Well, certainly, if Mr. Kejriwal had done what he had said, then that system would have been the best system. To get into the system and cleanse it. I don't think that is impossible because there are charges of corruption in regard to this cabinet also. But for people like Anna Hazare and myself, we are almost the same age. We are both of us are 76. Getting into politics at this stage is totally useless. And it is better to be outside, gather people to support your views in the matter and bring pressure on the governments to cleanse itself. I think it's much better. Okay, Mr. Kejriwal is a young man and they have a young team now. Fair enough. But show the difference. We just don't want to be another party in governance. You are different when you are out of governance. You are in governance, you say. And one special thing I must say, he has been telling that his ombudsman bill, the Jan Lokpal bill for the Delhi, is the best in the world. I don't think he has led the Karnataka Lokayukta bill.
Thank you, sir.
But sir, when we Google about Lokayukt, if you Google Lokayukt, it comes that Karnataka's Lokayukt, that is Justice N. Santosh Hegde, is the strongest one. And we have seen, sir, that you have, in the judiciary also you were there at the highest post in India. गुस्ताखी माफ सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे ये है कि घर का जज कौन है?
Is there any doubt about that?
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
This
sir.
morning I was reading WhatsApp about men and women, and one of them is in India, bigamy is prohibited, or second marriage is prohibited. The answer is that is because of Article 20 of Article 3, which says a person cannot be punished for the same offence twice.
Nice one, sir. Okay. The next question by Deepika, but again, of course, not Palpon.
Good morning.
My name is Deepika. I am from TCT Group of Institutes. And my question for you is, what is your advice to the youngsters of today who intend to be the part of Indian judicial system?
Look, in spite of all the deficiencies which I have mentioned today, I think of all the institutions under the Constitution, judiciary, though slowly, is functioning much better than the other two institutions. There is charge of corruption against the judiciary, there is charges of nepotism and other things are there. But that is an institution which is absolutely necessary if you want to have democracy still in the system. And law as a profession is very, very good as compared to others. So during my time, law was considered to be the last resort of an unemployed graduate. I did my BSc, I was looking around here and there, where to go and all. Then there was law, so I became a lawyer. I always say that I am a destiny's child. But for today's generation, the 5-year law course is compared to, if you compare it with any other institution in the world, judicial system, I think the Indian education system is the best. No need to go to Bharat Law, no need to go to Harvard or anywhere. Get into a 5-year law course and you come out. You have a choice then either to practice or join a firm or become a corporate lawyer. Opportunity immense and even monetarily, I think is a very, very paying profession. I would encourage anybody who wants to practice or become a lawyer to take up a 5-year law course.
Great, sir. And actually, I think whichever profession we take up, it is very, very important for all of us to give our 100% in that. And not like a man who said, I always give my 110% to my institution, 40% on Monday, 30% on Tuesday, so on and so far, and finally 5% on Saturday. So the next question by Dhananjay Nayak.
Good morning, sir. My name is Dhananjay Nayak and I am from PCT. My question is about the recent incident which happened outside Patiala House Court. Like, with that incident, as a youth, we are losing our faith from our Indian judicial system. So what are your views?
You are right. Whatever happened on that day in Patiala Court was absolutely hooliganism, rowdyism, that too by people wearing black coat and black gown. Very, very unfortunate situation. And I think the Delhi police failed in their effort to prevent what was happening. But whatever may be their excuse, saying we don't enter courts without the permission of the judge and blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen inside the court, it was happening outside the court. Nobody can ever condemn that, however bad the other person's actions were. You cannot compare one and say, you have done it, so I cannot do it. No, that is not the thing. In law, both will have to be punished. Every time you say, tell the ruling party, look, so and so member is corrupt. So, wasn't your member also corrupt? That's no excuse. You have to punish the people who have committed illegal acts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, Harpreet Kaur for the next question.
Good morning, sir. My name is Harpreet and I am from Guru Nanak Institute of Management and Technology. I would like you to share your turning point which you consider is in your career.
Many incidents have been turning points in my life because I never planned my life ahead. As I was telling some of the guests who were here, I wanted to be a professional hockey player. That didn't work. I didn't get employment in any company which is encouraging hockey. So, hoping next time it will change, I went to another, say, I went from intermediate to senior intermediate, then to BSc, then to law. Now, I joined a small office, though my father was a Supreme Court judge, but that helped me very much because my junior treated me very well, gave me all the encouragement. 5 years later, he became a High Court judge, so I became an independent practitioner. But the biggest incident, I must say, was 1975, June 24th, 25th night, when emergency was declared in the country and 4 members of parliament were imprisoned in Bangalore. And the court appointed me as a amicus curiae for them to represent them in the court. When I went and visited them, they were the four members of parliament were Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Mr. L.K. Advani, Mr. S.N. Mishra, and Madhu Dandavati. Along with the state people were also there. So 18 months of interaction with them, and an emergency was lifted in 83. Congress government in Karnataka lost its power, and one of the person who was in the jail became a chief minister. Then he appointed me as an advocate general. Okay, totally an extraneous consideration. But 4.5 years I was there. Nobody has pointed a single finger that my performance was not good enough. Then I came to Delhi as in this thing. I became the Solicitor General of India. When I was Solicitor General of India, then the Chief Justice invited me to become a judge, which again is totally unthought of, and I really didn't want it, but for some reason or other I accepted that. Then came 1 year's posting as TDSAT, Telecommunication Dispute Separate Tribunal, which was 3-year posting. But after 1 year, I got a call from Bangalore to become the Lokayukta Bangalore. In Lokayukta Bangalore, apart from all the incidents I gave and all, I had major opportunity of giving an illegal mining report. In the mining report, I found 3 chief ministers of 3 political parties involved, and I named them. 9 ministers, I named 790 officers, I have named. All these changes were not planned. Every time it took a turn and it took me in a direction which is totally other than what I contemplated. So I think destiny has been extremely generous. And as Vandanaji said, and all, it's not getting an opportunity and being there. It's just the beginning of it. It's how you handle the responsibilities and duties and impress the people who are concerned with that post. That's the most important.
Thank you, sir. As now you all know that sir has played hockey, let me tell you, he played cricket also at school level, but hockey he represented the state level. Sir, do you know that our youth also plays a lot? But that is different thing that they play Candy Crush and Clash of Clans or Temple Run. So these are the kind of games that these people are playing. So if we tell them, go and play outdoor games, what they would do? They would go out and play the same games. So that is the definition of outdoor games for them, playing outside but playing on mobile. Sir, what would be your advice to them about the physical exercises, sports and games?
There can be 2 opinions. You must have enough physical exercise outdoors as well as intellectual exercise indoors. I'm telling to students of the state, which is one of the best hockey players team in the country, that you must take that as an exercise also.
Thank you, sir. And next is Joy.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My name is Joama Martins. I'm from the PCT Group of Institutes. My question to you is, since we know that corruption is in the roots of working in India, according to you, who is responsible for this, and what are the main efforts that are being made in the country to fight this?
Corruption is not something which is found only in India. It's all over the world. As a matter of fact, there is an assessment report of this thing called international organization, where India is found at 84, and many other countries are far below than that. I think the basic thing is lack of values, which we have lost in the societal level itself. I think today we live in a society which respects money and power only. It doesn't respect honest people, hard-working people at all. That's a useless chap. He doesn't take money, he doesn't allow others to take money. That's the concept of the society in which we live. I think if we could inculcate these 2 values of contentment and humanism, I think this country will be much better. So also the other country also it should be there. But the change will not be easy. If the corruption was not the same in 50s or 60s or 70s, it started post-70 era. Maybe if out of the people who are youth and the youngsters sitting here, if 5% of you accept the fact that I should be a content person, I should be a human being in life and all, I think in another 10 years we will be living in a better country than what it is today with regard to corruption.
Thank you so much, sir. So we are left with 3 more questions from this panel, and after that we can take up 1 or 2 questions. By that time, the warm up should be done. हमारे पास स्कूल में बहुत छोटे छोटे बच्चे होते हैं. कई बार हम बच्चे को बोलते हैं कि बेटे अभी अगला पीरियड, अब गेम्स का पीरियड आ गया एंड यू हैव टू डू द वार्म अप एक्सरसाइजेस. तो बच्चा कहता है मैम हम तो घर से करके आए हैं, इट्स लाइक ब्रेकफास्ट और समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो प्लीज वार्म अप. एंड नाउ नेक्स्ट Paramjit with a very heavy question.
Thank you, sir. So, myself, Paramjit Singh. I am from GMMP College, Martin. So, my basic question is that, is the collegium system is the only way of the betterment of judiciary? Well, how can, what steps could be taken to increase the transparency in the judiciary council?
Earlier to 1990, the selection of superior court judges, that is the High Court and the Supreme Court, was being done by the executive, that is the President of India, on the recommendation of the government. Post 1990, the system was found to be not good, so a collegium was formed in regard to the High Court judges, Chief Justice and 2 senior judges. In regard to Supreme Court, Chief Justice and 4 other senior judges sit in the form of the collegium system. The system has its own drawbacks, and it's also got human error which is crept into it. But I can vouch saying, with my experience in life, no other system other than the collegium system will do justice to the selection of the people, though there have been mistakes. I'll point out to you. What is the use of a body which has to choose a person, and what you do? Now, there is no written examination for this post. They don't advertise for this post. It is by experience and knowledge which is acquired watching the performance of the people that the selection is done. Who else knows more about the available lawyers in the bar to be elevated than the collegium? Does the law minister know anything about it? Or the 2 eminent person, I don't know what's the meaning of that, would know about that? They will not know that. Therefore, if you want to change it, then advertise it, right? Have a written examination like you have in the lower judiciary or IAS and other things and all, then form a system by which whosoever is there, then choose this person. But if the system is to select people who are in this bar, and then the performance to be watched, then nobody else, the law minister does not know, the eminent people will not know about it. Now the difficulty is, there have been certain difficulties which have been created by the collegium itself. One is no transparency. It should be made compulsory that any person who is being considered for the post of a superior court should be published in the website or in the media so that the people will know about it. Whatever report that comes, you accept it and look into it, examine it, then decide to take a decision on that or not. Secondly, after the 1990 Justice Ramaswamy's case, the Punjab Chief Justice also, which is referred by impeachment trade. Now, every judge thinks that nobody can do anything to him. That is there's nobody above me is the worst feeling a person can have if he's in the public life and all. Therefore, I would suggest, apart from transparency, then have an institution or judicial council. Let there be anybody. It could be an ordinary person, a judicial person, retired judge or so. Because the investigation will be done based on the papers that is before that. You examine the complaint and the evidence before that. So have a national judicial council for receiving complaints against the superior court judges. Then I think that people will realize, the judges will realize there is somebody above me. It is Franklin Cardoza who said, how so high you may be, the law is above you. This is the feeling every judge should keep in mind. So have the collegium system, bring about the changes.
So next one in the row is Ravinder Singh.
Good morning, sir. So I am Ravinder Singh from GNMT College, and my question is that why all the efforts that we are taking to clear the pending files are ineffective?
You see, the Indian judiciary did not develop with the pace of the litigation that was increasing. In 70s, annual receipt of cases in the Supreme Court was about 7,200, 7,300. That's all the cases. Today, it runs over 1 lakh cases. In 1970s, there were only 7 judges in the Supreme Court. Today, we have 32 judges in the Supreme Court. But the increase in the number of judges is overtaken by the number of filings that are going on. And this is the same case in every court. What happens in today's judicial system is, one of the litigant stands to gain if the case is delayed. Maybe a tenant, maybe a borrower, maybe any person. If the case is delayed, he gets to benefit from it. Because of that, even the professional system is changing to delay the process in getting a final judgment. The worst fear is in places like Delhi, Mumbai and other metropolitan cities, the underground people have taken over the judicial dispensing system because they can do it quick. You take money, threaten the other judge, then do whatever the judgment system is. Therefore, judiciary should change. A number of institutional personnel should increase proportionate with the number of cases that are filed. Unlike America, you don't have more than one appellate court. Just one court. In America, there is a trial court and one appellate court. Above that, nothing. American Supreme Court does not entertain cases other than the constitutional interpretations. So keep it in two tier and all. The quicker the disposal will be. You got to trust the judiciary at some point of time. If you don't trust it, number 2, how will you trust it to number 4 or number 5 level? You don't do that. So develop an atmosphere and cost to be imposed on frivolous litigation. This type of fear will reduce the number of cases being filed, and the appellate forum being reduced will be quicker in disposal. There are very many available things, but nobody is discussing it, sitting in a common thing. Nobody, neither the judiciary is calling for a meeting, nor the government is calling for a meeting. Everybody wants to show their figure and this figure and that. We've got to sit and change along with the time that has been changed.
Thank you, sir. They say, what is the difference between a bad lawyer and a good lawyer? With all apologies, they say the bad lawyer is the one who drags the case to 8 to 10 years, and a good lawyer is one who can drag it even longer. So that is what was your question. And now the last but not the least, Juhi, but once again not Chawla.
Very good morning to you, sir. My name is Julie and I am from PCT Group of Institutes. And my question to you is, you have been a judge of the Supreme Court. At times, you must have taken some decisions that had a significant impact. So how did you deal with the stress?
Did you see a photograph in today's picture, a lady riding a Harley Davidson motorcycle? Did you see it? She is a member of parliament. Her husband is also a member of parliament. In 2003, the Chief Justice of India got a complaint saying that a person who is accused in a murder case, whose bail has been refused by the Supreme Court, he has come to, from Bihar, he has come to All India Institute of Medical Science, and he's been sitting there free, has breakfast in the morning, goes out, has lunch and dinner outside, comes late in the night to sleep. So a letter was written saying that this is the man is misusing his freedom. So that case was listed before a bench where I was presiding over. We wrote a letter to the AIMS superintendent. Is it true? He said yes. This man has got only diabetes and blood pressure, for which the AIMS is not the place, but he has used political influence to come and sit there. So we issued notice to that person, asking him, telling him why you should not be transferred back to Behur jail in Patna. His lawyer came and started saying, it is my client's life and death matter, how can you interfere with it? And all the doctors have certified him to be sick and needs the treatment in AIMS and everything. So we passed an order that he shall be transferred from there to Behur jail, kept in the jail hospital if necessary need to be. So he was transferred there. A few months later, somebody sent a photograph of this gentleman standing on the bonnet of a Bolero jeep and canvassing in a place called Madhevpura for another candidate. He was at about 250 kgs then. Then we issued a notice to the superintendent of jail asking him how did you allow him to go out of jail so that he was found in the bonnet of a jeep in an election campaign. The jailer showed a body warrant issued by Madhevpura Sessions Court to produce this person in the court for a criminal case. So we issued notice to the Sessions Court under what circumstances a body warrant was issued. They said the body warrant was not issued by them, it's a forgery and bogus warrant. So we again issued notice to this person why he should not be transferred to jail in South India. Then his wife came to the same lady who was riding a motorbike with the 2 daughters and started praying. If he sent to South India jail, he'll be murdered, this and that. So ultimately, out of some sympathy, we transferred him to Bihar jail in Delhi. And that person's name is Pappu Yadav. He's a member of parliament. both husband and wife are member of parliament.
Thank you so much. One last question which we can take from the audience, sir.
नमस्कार सर। जब आपको मूड में गुस्सा आता था तो एक फिल्म आई थी कि एल्बर्ट पिंटो को गुस्सा क्यों आता है, तो हम यंग थे, हम कहते थे कि जस्टिस हेगडे को गुस्सा क्यों आता है। आपने एंड में कहा कि अब मुझे गुस्सा नहीं आता, क्या इसके कुछ कारण बताएंगे? आपको
कारण
गुस्सा
नहीं
क्यों नहीं
है,
आता?
मैं तो लोकायुक्त से निवृत्त हूँ ना, so I don't get an opportunity to get angry. I am out of it. They were there, yes, I was getting angry for inefficiency of administration, for inefficiency of the police working, the hospital working. Every system was not functioning. It was functioning only when you show the money. That's when I was getting angry. Is this the system by which democracy is being administered? Now I'm out of it. Now my getting angry is of no use at all. So I merely tell people that these are the views that I have, and please adopt them and become good citizens of this country. Exactly. Hindustan ko tukde tukde karenge, inshallah, inshallah. It's not by saying जब तक हिंदुस्तान की बर्बादी नहीं होगी, कश्मीर की आजादी नहीं होगी, तब तक जंग लड़ेंगे. This is not anger. You have an anger, ways and means of showing it, not against the country. I always considered I have two mothers. One, my own mother, the other is my motherland. I wouldn't allow anybody to do that. Every system is bad, oppose it. Every party is bad, oppose it. Every wrong, you oppose it. But not your country.